Chapter 4: Tourism Planning and Development. Learning Objectives. Explain the reasons and purposes for tourism planning. Identify the barriers to tourism planning. Describe the steps in the tourism planning process. Describe and differentiate among tourism position statements, vision statements, goals, strategies, and objectives. Explain the concept and principles of sustainable tourism development. Describe the main forms of tourism development. Discuss government and private sector roles in tourism development. Describe the role and types of government incentives for tourism development and the criteria for government financial assistance. Describe the objectives and steps in completing a pre-feasibility study and an economic feasibility study. Identify the two main groups concerned with the results of economic feasibility studies and discuss the questions they typically want answered. Explain the purposes of preparing an environmental impact assessment. Overview the destination area with and without tourism planning. Barriers to tourism planning. Purposes of tourism planning. Tourism planning process. Building a sustainable future for tourism. The link between tourism planning and tourism development. Government and private sector participation in tourism development. Analysis of individual project development opportunities. The destination area with tourism planning. Planning is a process of selection from among alternative courses of action. 5 basic reasons for tourism planning. Tourism development has both positive and negative impacts. Destination life cycle. More competitive situation. More complicated phenomenon. Tourism has damaged natural and cultural resources. Community involved. Butler's Tourism Destination Life Cycle Model. Source: http://www.destinationarecovery.com/destinationlifecycle.html. 7 stages of destination life cycle. Like most products, destinations have a product life cycle. Butler proposed a widely accepted tourism destination life cycle model which has 7 distinct stages. Exploration. A destination begins as a relatively unknown and adventurous. Visitors initially come in small numbers restricted by lack of access, facilities, and local knowledge. Involvement. Local investment in tourism and tourism advertising start. Visitor number begin to increase and government agencies start to develop the infrastructure. Development. There is a rapid growth in visitor numbers as the destination becomes heavily advertised. The amenities are increased and improved. Visitors change to less adventurous. 7 stages of destination life cycle. Consolidation. Growth in visitor numbers will decline, although total numbers will still increase. Tourism becomes mass market. Stagnation. The peak numbers of visitors will have been reached. Capacity levels for many variables will have been reached or exceeded. The area will have a well-established image, but it will no longer be in fashion. There will be heavy reliance on repeat visitation and on conventions and similar forms of traffic. Decline. Visitor number decrease. External investors begin to pull out. Rejuvenation. New attractions are developed or new natural resources are used to reverse the negative trends in visitor arrivals. Representative destination classifications. The destination area without tourism planning. Consequences of unplanned development. Physical. Human. Marketing. Organizational. Other. Barriers to tourism planning. The objections to the principle of tourism planning. Cost of this process is high. The complexity, ownership, of tourism and the large number of government agencies involved. The diversity of tourism business, sector, size. The seasonality. The high ownership turnover in tourism businesses. Purposes of tourism planning. 5 basic purposes. Identifying alternative approaches. Adapting to the unexpected. Maintaining uniqueness. Creating the desirable. Avoiding the undesirable. Tourism planning process. 7 steps. Background analysis. Detailed research and analysis. Synthesis and visioning. Goal setting, strategy selection, and objective setting. Plan development. Plan implementation and monitoring. Plan evaluation. Step 1, Background analysis. Government policies, goals, objectives, and programs. Existing destination mix elements and components. Existing tourism demand. Tourism strengths, weaknesses, problems, and issues. Step 2, Detailed research and analysis. Resource analysis. Activity analysis. Market analysis. Competitive analysis. Step 3, Synthesis and visioning. Position statements. Describe the existing situations in tourism development, marketing, organization, community awareness, and support services and activities. Vision statements. Reflect the desired future states in tourism development, marketing, organization, community awareness, and support services and activities. Step 4, Goal setting, strategy selection, and objective setting. Results or outcomes that the destination area tries to achieve within 3 to 5 years. Strategies. Broad approaches selected to achieve tourism goals that help to translate existing conditions into desired future situations. Objectives. Results or outcomes that the destination area tries to achieve within 1 to 2 years. Step 5, Plan development. Description of programs, activities, roles, and funding. Writing of tourism plan reports. Step 6, Plan implementation and monitoring. Plan implementation. The tourism plan is put into action by a governmental tourism agency. Plan monitoring. As the plan is being implemented, the coordinating agency checks to ensure that progress is made as originally intended. Plan evaluation. The performance on goals and objectives is measured and recommendations made for future tourism planning. Step 7, Plan evaluation. The performance on goals and objectives is measured. Recommendations are made for future tourism planning based on the results and outcomes of this plan. Sustainable tourism development. Tourism which is developed and maintained in an area in such a manner and at such a scale that it remains viable over an indefinite period and does not degrade or alter the environment, human and physical, in which it exists to such a degree that it prohibits the successful development and well-being of other activities and processes. Butler, R. W. 1993. Principles of Sustainable Tourism Development. To improve the quality of life of the host community. To provide a high-quality experience for visitors. To maintain the quality of the environment on which both the host community and the visitors depend. Ding, P., and Pigram, J. 1995. Main forms of tourism development. Low-impact to high-impact tourism. Ecologically sustainable tourism development, ESTD. Alternative tourism. Mass tourism. Resort tourism. Private sector roles in tourism development. Idea generation. Entrepreneurial role. Specialized technical skills. Financing. Volunteer sector roles in tourism development. Operating attractions. Creating and running events and special meals. Providing travel information services. Financing the development of community-oriented facilities. Government roles in tourism development. Stimulate raw catalyst for development. Developer. Operator. Social tourism provider. Regulator of tourism developments. Types of government incentives for tourism development. Fiscal incentives. Tax holidays or deferrals. Remission of tariffs. Tax reductions. Types of government incentives for tourism development. Direct and indirect incentives. Non-refundable grants. Low-interest loans. Interest rebates. Forgivable loans. Loan guarantees. Working capital loans. Types of government incentives for tourism development. Direct and indirect incentives. Equity participation. Training grants. Infrastructure assistance. Leasebacks. Land donations. Criteria for government financial assistance. Competitive impact. Compliance with policies and plans. Developer and operator capabilities. Economic contributions. Environmental impact. Equity contributions. Feasibility. Social cultural impact. Tourism impact. Objectives of pre-feasibility and feasibility studies. Pre-feasibility study, to determine whether a detailed economic feasibility study is justified and which topics the detailed study should address. Detailed economic feasibility study, to determine the economic feasibility of a tourism development project opportunity. Steps in feasibility studies. Pre-feasibility study. Detailed economic feasibility study. Site analysis. Market analysis. Economic feasibility analysis. Cost/benefit analysis.